Hello and welcome. By the way, I think I jumped that too fast. Hello and welcome. I'm Excellite, and this is my podcast. I have Rob with me today. Hello, Rob.
Hello, everybody. How are you all?
They say they're fine.
Thank you.
Today is our second of 4 podcasts about the Bridgewater Triangle. And we were going to try and do it live, but I'm a screw up. So it's not live, but hopefully the next one will be. And what you need to do is click that bell to be notified, because when we do go live for the podcast, which, cross your fingers, is going to be the next one, you'll want to be notified when we go live, because you're not going to want to miss this. It's so good. So if you're not subscribed already, you should probably go ahead and do that. And if you would like to give this video a thumbs up, please do so. It's totally free. It doesn't hurt at all unless you specifically ask for that. And in which case, it's a whole different video.
Oh, dear me. This is going to be one of those days.
It is. It's going to be one of those days. Also, if you hear somebody in the background yelling and ranting and raving, my son is playing a video game online against his sister. So it happens.
It's not really that someone's been tied up and being tortured in the background. It's actually
Rob,
it's all legit.
About this.
It's all legit. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. It's
Don't
fine.
call the FBI.
No. Please don't. It's totally fine. Anyway, anything you'd like to say, Rob?
I'm really looking forward to this. Really looking forward to it.
What is this one about, Rob?
This one is about the cryptids in the Bridgewater Triangle. And for people that don't know what cryptids are, basically they are creatures that haven't been, that there's a legend about these creatures, but they haven't been discovered. Like Bigfoot, for instance. Bigfoot is a cryptid because even though half the population of the world says they've seen Bigfoot or believe in Bigfoot, he hasn't actually been, he has been photographed lots and lots of times, but science says he doesn't exist, so he doesn't exist.
Don't believe your lying eyes.
Yeah. Basically, that's pretty much what a cryptid is.
Okay.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Talk to you later. Have a good one. We'll be back here same time next week. Tip your waitress. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the cryptids that are seen in the Bridgewater Triangle. And if you do not know what or where the Bridgewater Triangle is, please refer to my previous video, which is named the Bridgewater Triangle. It's easy. Yep. It's right there. And listen to that one first. And so you'll get an idea of what the history is of this land. Right, Rob?
It's in Massachusetts. It's in New England in America. So just to give people, if they didn't listen to the first one, or they haven't got access to the first one, it's in that kind of area.
That's right. It's actually, I'll tell you exactly where it is. It's a 200-mile region in southeastern Massachusetts. It connects the town of Abington to the north, to the town of Freetown to the southeast, and the town of Rehoboth to the southwest. So, therefore, a triangle. And there's a lot more information on the podcast that Rob and I did previous to this. All right, Rob. Let's talk about this documentary and some of the people on this documentary and some of the things that they saw. And then I'm going to list some other cryptids that supposedly roam the night in the
Well,
swamps.
we've got to start. We have to start with the two gentlemen, the two fishermen, I think they were. One of them saw Bigfoot, but then he turned around and told his friend to turn around and look, and Bigfoot had gone.
That often happens.
And then he looked back again, and Bigfoot was there, and his friend and Bigfoot had gone. And Bigfoot was obviously playing games with these two.
Hide and seek. Hide and seek. He often does. He's a playful little guy.
But what I thought was the thing that I don't know if you remember, the thing that I thought was a bit strange was the guy that didn't see Bigfoot believes that his friend saw Bigfoot.
Yes. Well,
even though he didn't see Bigfoot.
well,
by the way, they were stood together. They were stood together. You know, they weren't like a distance apart. They were stood together when this so-called Bigfoot sighting happened.
Yeah, he just had to look over and say, "Hey, by the way, there's a Bigfoot." He didn't have to yell across a great distance to scare Bigfoot away.
Well, so much just occurred to me. Why would he have to look back at his friend? Because if someone said to me, "There's Bigfoot," I would turn around to look. You wouldn't need to turn away.
Yeah, why would you take your eyes off of it?
If it was me and you stood there and I saw Bigfoot, I would say to you, I'd get my hand and grab your head and turn it round and say, "There is Bigfoot. I'm not taking my effing eyes off this Bigfoot because I know he's going to do a dance and run off."
Do you have to grab me by the head though?
Oh, in a friendly way.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Remind me not to stand next to you within arm's reach. I'm grabbing your head, turning it.
But yeah, you know,
if I was standing next to you, I would be like, "Oh, cuss word, holy cuss word, oh my cuss word, Rob, look, there's effing Bigfoot," and I would assume, turn around at the beginning of the string of my cuss words, hopefully, and I would whisper though, like, "Oh my God, Rob, look, holy F word and S word and all those other words. There's a Bigfoot," and then you would turn around. I wouldn't like if I'm making eye contact with Bigfoot, Bigfoot's making eye contact with me. I'm not going to be like, "Hold on a second. I'm going to turn my head. Don't go anywhere." Right? And then apparently Bigfoot's really fast because in the matter of seconds he can completely disappear. But there was a guy who was rowing down the lake, the swamp, and remember he knew there was a Bigfoot because he could smell a horrific smell. Remember that guy?
Yeah, that was me.
And by the way, what we're talking about is there's a documentary called The Bridgewater Triangle. And by the way, as a side note, I think it's Fox is in production for a new TV show that will center around the Bridgewater Triangle. So maybe something like the X-Files, but they're in the Bridgewater Triangle.
I was just, when you asked me before about my notes and stuff, I was looking on Google, and everything on Google is to do with this documentary or this program that's going to be on Fox. So it's really,
And that was announced in June of 2019. So probably look for it maybe summer or fall of 2020. And Lord knows, people here in America, we're going to need something to take our minds off of life. So might as well be cryptids.
You've got one in office, so there you go.
Oh.
Bam.
Thank you. Good night. All right, I'm not going to talk about politics on my channel. I will talk about religion all day, but I'm not going to talk about politics. Anyway, but the point of the story was, do you remember the guy in this documentary that he was rowing down and he said he could just smell the smell?
Yeah, but he didn't say anything.
Wait, isn't there a song that says that?
Was,
Ooh, that smell. Can't you smell that smell? The smell that surrounds you, or something like that?
that must be a American thing.
I think there's a song that says that, but the point of the story is, but he didn't see him. Yeah, he just smelled him, which could be a dead animal as far as. But no, there was probably Bigfoot.
Can I ask you a question? Coming from the UK, what is the difference between rowing down a lake or rowing down a river or a lake or whatever,
Yeah.
to rowing in a pond? A swamp. What is the? Because I don't really get what the difference is. It's a body of water. Is a swamp different in some way?
Well, yeah. There's like dead trees and that are under the water, and so I'm assuming you would have to be a little bit more careful as far as like not running into any stumps and whatnot. But
is it all soft and squidgy, the ground?
It can be, but no, it doesn't have to be. No, I've been in swamps in Louisiana. The ground wasn't as soft and squidgy, but and it's just, I guess if you're in amongst a treed swamp, which this place is, it's a treed swamp, then what would be different is that old tree trunks, fallen trees could be in your way. Tall grasses, that kind of thing.
Right. Okay, I get you now. Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just thought people would like to know.
Right. Well, so that's all the, but then if like in Massachusetts, I think it's probably a whole different kind of swamp situation than if you were to go to Louisiana, because then you'd have a whole different other kind of thing to worry about.
Yeah.
Because that wouldn't be a stump, that would be an alligator, or a snake, or whatever. Don't do it.
I'm actually
Scooby-Doo.
looking at my map now. Yeah. And I can see the two different areas. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think when you're thinking swamp,
Excuse me.
it's not like a Louisiana swamp.
Right.
Or southern kind of a swamp, or even southern Texas. Just, yeah. Anyway, I think that would be mostly the difference. Of course, going down a river would be different because it's got a current. So you'd have to be aware of that.
A swamp doesn't have a current.
No, it's just settled water.
Ah, right.
Yeah, it'd be more lake-like, but overgrown.
Right, I get you now. Okay, sorry about that. Sorry to sort of veer off, but I just didn't know.
No, that's fine. Yeah, it's not moving water.
Right. Okay.
Anyway, so from the documentary, what else have people seen?
Right, they have seen what they believe to be the Jersey Devil, which the Firebird, is it with the Firebird?
Yes.
Which is basically this huge bird, which is got a massive, massive wingspan. And that's only been seen by a few people, but I think you need to take that with a pinch of salt, to be honest. I think you have to take a lot of the...
Oh, it's the Thunderbird.
The Thunderbird, sorry, which was likened to the Jersey Devil.
Well, what is the Jersey Devil?
The Jersey Devil is like this winged
It is a bird-like thing?
Bird-like thing with big wings, and it's if you've seen the films Um, what are the films, Trace? What are the films?
I have no idea. Mothman?
Similar to
Jeepers
the Mothman.
Creepers?
Jeepers Creepers.
Oh
That
my
was
God, did I
taken.
get it right?
Yeah, that
Oh.
is what basically they took the Jeepers Creepers creature from. It's basically the
Oh.
Mothman, the something similar to that. But
Oh, okay. Well, can I read a description of the Thunderbird that I found?
yeah, Christian.
There have been numerous reported sightings of the giant condor-like birds of Native American lore, which is true, by the way. In that area, Native Americans do have drawings of these huge birds. One of the most dramatic incidents occurred at 2 a.m. on a late summer's night in 1971. Norton Police Sergeant Thomas Downey was driving along Winter Street in Mansfield towards his home in Easton. As he approached a place known as Bird Hill in Easton, at the edge of the Hockomock Swamp, he was confronted by a tremendous winged creature over 6 feet tall with a wingspan of up to 8 to 12 feet. When he was interviewed, Downey said that as he drew to a stop at the intersection, the bird flew straight up and disappeared over the dark trees into the swamp. Downey reported the sighting to the Easton police. A patrol car searched the area but found nothing. For weeks afterwards, fellow officers dubbed him the Birdman, but Downey stuck to his story. I'm going to be honest with you about something.
What?
I think it was an owl.
Could it have not been a condor?
Aren't condors prehistoric?
No, they live in a certain part of America, and
Condors?
they're the biggest, the bird with the biggest
Oh.
wingspan. Yeah, they're huge. They are huge. There was I'm watching this quiz program that I watch every day, and one of the questions was about, it's called a something condor, and they're black and white. They're huge.
Okay, so the Andean condor lives in the Andean mountains. And then the California condor is currently restricted to the western coastal mountains of the United States and Mexico and the northern United States mountains of Arizona in the United States.
Excuse me.
I lived in Arizona. I never saw a condor. That is really strange. Well, it says they're on the West Coast, so I don't know.
They are quite rare, but they're an endangered species. There's not hundreds, there's not thousands and thousands of them.
Right.
But if you put into Google like the condor and see the sizes of a condor, they're huge.
Wow.
I think there's them, and then there's like an albatross as well, because albatrosses.
The wingspan can go from 9 to 10 feet.
Yeah.
They can weigh up to 33 pounds. Their overall length can range from 46 to 53 inches, so almost 5 feet.
So couldn't he have saw one of those?
Seems like maybe you could have seen a condor, although they say they're on the West Coast, but I feel like maybe you could have seen a condor. Yeah. That's really interesting. I guess I didn't even know that they're obviously. Well, either that or there's some really huge owls, like some really huge owls. My husband and I, oh my God, these condors, they're what? They look prehistoric.
Yeah, they do. They're crazy.
They're as big as people.
Bigger, so in some cases.
They could take a small child.
They had that's one of the things they used to do when the Native Americans had to be really careful with their young children, because they used to take their young children. It's a massive.
I'm watching a condor take a freaking wolf.
Yeah.
And he's huge compared to the wolf. I don't know what that wolf is thinking. That wolf is thinking, God dang, this is a big bird. This is crazy. Yes, I think he could have seen a condor. Yes, or like I said, they have some massive owls. My husband and I were on a drive through like a wooded area. I don't even know why, but it was really dark, and something flew into. We were in his truck. Something flew in, like we saw this swooping down at us. It was, even though it was dark, it like darkened out the darkness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And its wingspan was wider than the truck, and it swooped down right to his windshield. Like he slammed on the brakes, we ducked, we thought it was coming into the windshield, and then it swooped up, and we think it was an owl.
See, in this country, we only have a couple. We've got a few. We've got like a barn owl and the tawny owl. People will probably come up with more, but they're only small.
Owls can get.
Yeah, we have like we have buzzards and kestrels and they grow quite big.
Right.
Me and the girl. I mean, if this was not early in the morning and my girls were here, we were driving home, and for some reason we saw this. Grace saw loads and loads of them. She couldn't believe the size of them, of these buzzards,
right.
And obviously they're nothing compared to. I'm not saying they're anything in the sort of region of a condor or anything like that. So let me get that straight. But they were huge compared to sort of our crows and.
Well, I'm looking at a picture of a large owl. This one was actually caught in Texas, and it's dead. But two men are holding its wingspan, and they're standing 15 feet apart from each other. 12 feet apart from each other. So, I mean, they can be some seriously big owls.
See, the Jersey Devil looks like an owl for me with red eyes. If you look at pictures of the Jersey Devil, it looks like an owl with red eyes. All black, all dark with red eyes. That sort of shape, that owl shape with a big wingspan.
Well, that would make sense considering. I mean, do they call it the Jersey Devil because it's from New Jersey? Yeah. Which would be the East Coast. So,
excuse me.
Seems like
New Jersey, yeah, it's just down a little bit, isn't it, Rick? Well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I kind of see that. I can see how it looks like an owl. Yeah, I think that they did see. I think. Well, first off, I don't think that this police officer is going to say something that's going to make him look like a complete idiot. Be called Birdman for the rest of his life if he didn't see it. First off, I wouldn't call the cops. What do you call the cops for, you dumbass? Isn't that rule number one? I mean, rule number one is don't call the cops and tell them that you're too not sober. And if you see something paranormal or a UFO, don't call the cops.
No.
Because you might disappeared. Don't call the cops if you see something weird. Just keep it to yourself. Like, well, you're going to call the cops and you're going to say what? I saw a freaking Jersey Devil. How embarrassing.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be sitting around waiting for them, right? I don't know. Just when I saw a UFO, and if you're new to this channel, my story is in my playlist. When I saw a UFO, the very first thing that went through my mind was, because my brother goes, oh my God, we need to call somebody. We need to call the police. Which, if you're going to call anybody, I guess you would call the Air Force. But I said, are you kidding me right now? I'm not gonna call anybody and tell them I saw a UFO, because even if they already know it, they're not gonna tell me that I'm right.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
know, they're gonna write down that I possibly need to be committed somewhere.
Well, I don't know if you share the same sort of thing as me, but what annoys me is when it's, say, a police officer, for instance, who sees the cryptid.
Yes.
Why, or it's a fireman, why are
Yeah.
they a better judge than the normal man in the street? Because at the end of the day, the police get scared and get, why do we take their um, why do we take their evidence or what they saw better than they would take the man in the streets? Because we've got to, because, well, it was an expert witness. Well, how can you be an expert witness on a cryptid? They're not. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not as though police officers see them every day.
Well, here's what I think. I think if it was somebody like a policeman or a fireman or a doctor or somebody whose job could be put in jeopardy for saying something ridiculous, I think that's why we tend to believe them more. Because if his superiors thought that he had lost it, he might lose his job.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, would you feel safe with a police officer who's people think is losing his mind? Seeing things like condors or Jersey Devils. So I think that's why people are tend to lean like, as a credible witness, because they have a lot to lose by talking about it. Where I have nothing to lose.
Well, it's like airline pilots that see UFOs.
Yes.
And they go on record. You can understand that. I can understand that they are an expert witness because they are used to seeing other things in the air, other planes in the air, and
Right.
they're used to seeing different types of atmospheric conditions. They are used to flying around and through storms and things like that. So for them to turn around and say they've seen a UFO, yes, and it's been proved that it can really affect their careers.
Yeah, I would say that they're an expert witness. Yeah.
And that they're an expert witness because obviously the normal man on the street or woman on the street does not get to see what's going on at 25, 30,000 feet in the air.
Right.
So if they said they see a huge object that's the size of 2 football fields flying through the sky, then obviously, and then their co-pilot sees it as well, I would take that as gospel, what they've said.
I would too, yes.
Yeah. But if a police officer over here said that he'd seen a giant bird with a 20-foot wingspan, I would think to myself, well, maybe, it could have been something else, or he could have, maybe he saw a really big buzzard or something, and it was because you can exaggerate things in your mind, can't you?
Yeah.
When you're telling the story. It's like Chinese, game we used to play when we were kids called Chinese Whispers. I think it's called something different in the States.
Telephone.
People can sort of egg you on to make, oh, it was this. And you can get carried away, really, with what you did actually see.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why they use hypnosis sometimes to get back to what someone... Well, that can be suggestive as well, but that's a whole different podcast. But I think you've got to be really, really careful.
I wouldn't call anybody an expert witness on cryptid, on seeing a cryptid, unless they were like a zoologist or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's somebody that would recognize that this is not who studied animals and different species their whole lives and whatever, went to college for it. I'm going to give them some credit for being some closest thing to a expert witness as possible. But anybody else, no matter what their profession is, I don't think we can call them an expert witness on Bigfoot.
Well, there is the guy, I can't think what his name is, but for anyone who watches paranormal stuff on the TV, especially cryptid stuff about Bigfoot, is the guy who's the zoologist, his professor, who collects all the footprints. He has casts, hundreds and hundreds of casts of different Bigfoot sightings where he's been, and he is pretty much, I would call him an expert.
Is his name Lauren Coleman?
No, it's something beginning with Meredith or something like that. I can't remember his name, but he actually works. He's a professor, but a zoology professor, and he collects and goes, and he's got hundreds and hundreds of casts where people have reported Bigfoot, and some that he's been and found himself.
So he believes in Bigfoot?
He believes not necessarily in Bigfoot. He believes that there could be a breed of, well, there was they're thought to be extinct. Is it gigantic? Oh God, I can't remember. The huge apes that walked upright.
Oh yeah.
I can't think what they were called.
Yeah, I think it was. I think Jeremy talked to me about this once before.
And they were 7 to 9 foot tall, and they stood on their. They stood up. They walked like a human, like a bipedal human, and he thinks that there could be they could still be alive. They could still be alive today, but the fact that America is so big and there's so much of America that's been not discovered yet, that they could be living out there. And his argument is, and people's argument is, well, they would have been found. His argument is, well, we're finding different new species all the time in America.
Right.
I mean, not every day, but the last one was a different type of antelope or something that you found that was thought to be extinct. That was found living okay. So he thinks that it could still be living out there, and that's what he thinks Bigfoot are.
Oh, okay.
This giant ape, basically. I've got the name on the tip of my tongue and I can't think what it is. Gigantolopithecus or something. I can't. People will know what I'm talking about. No, that's the dinosaur. I think if we had dinosaurs living out in America.
We do. We do, though.
Okay, well, there you go.
Alligators. Sharks.
Oh.
Cockroaches. Chickens.
Cockroaches? What? Cockroaches?
Yeah, cockroaches are a species that has always been around and always will be around. Nothing kills those little bastards.
Okay.
They can freaking live without their head. I know some people, I think, that can live without their heads.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure they don't have any brains in there. And on another podcast, I'll name them if you want. No, let's not do that. Okay, what else?
Gigantolopithecus or something, that's it.
Gigantolopithecus?
That's as near as damn it as I can get to it.
To the big thing?
The ape, yeah.
Well, the one thing that makes me have a little hope that there's a Bigfoot is the story about that boy who went missing in the national park and the military came in. And another little boy witnessed that he was being carried by a bear man. Remember that?
Yeah.
And the military came in and loaded to the teeth with weaponry.
Which they don't do.
Which they're not even allowed to do on federal land in a national park, but they did, and they have to get it okayed by the governor. And it's only been done one other time in a national. Wait, 3 other times in a national park, or for missing people. 2 other times for missing people, and those were children kidnapped by somebody like a drug kingpin, and then another missing child in the same wooded area as this boy went missing, where they went in armed to find it. And that makes me feel like there was something in those woods. Yeah, and they know definitely what it is. So
yeah, I agree.
That case, that little missing boy, that right there is what makes me think it feels like there's something out there, because they came in, they brought special forces in to try and get this thing. So
yeah,
anyway.
And there's also the poster, isn't there, that your national, whatever your equivalent to the National Trust is.
National Park, I would assume.
National Park or Association or whatever. They made a poster, and it's got all the species that you can find in and around the national parks. And it cost X amount, a lot of money to produce this poster. Huh. It's got a bloody Bigfoot on it. I'm not. This is not a joke. It's not. It's got a picture of a Bigfoot.
I know poster. It's not a joke. Well, they're trying to tell you.
So and it's all like you. I mean, this podcast could go off completely on to national parks and missing people, but I don't want it to. But there's so much secretiveness about what's going on in these places. Yeah. It's just scary. It's scary in itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's scary in itself. Just
right.
It's crazy.
Right. Well, if we ever find a Bigfoot, I hope I'm alive then.
Yeah, so do I.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Yeah, sorry, we've gone off on a tangent again.
Yeah, it's how I do it. Okay, what else?
There's the what was it called? Come on, Trace, you've got your list.
Oh yeah, we can go by my list if you want.
Come on.
Let's see. Okay, there was something else, yes, that you wanted to talk about that was on my list. The snakes.
The what?
Oh, I know what it was. I got it. It's the puckwudgies. the little baby people. Remember the guy said he went to walk his dog?
Yeah.
And the dog started barking, and there was a little baby person in the road, and he was like, "Come here, come here.
Come here, come here, come here.
Come here, come here." And he was like, "Not today, Satan." But at first he thought it was a child. And so he thought about there's a lost child. But then he thought he had remember his dog was really flipping her lid. And so he thought twice about it. And then he realized that what the thing was saying was, "Come here, come here."
I had a little pot belly in it.
Yeah. So I'll read what puckwudgies are. Okay. In the 1970s, in a specific area of spookiness and strangeness in Massachusetts, um, which, according to cryptozoologists, is the Bridgewater Triangle. Abington, Freetown, and Rehoboth form the corners of that triangle. There is something known as Pukwudgie, and in Wampanoag, the Native American tribe, Pukwudgie means little wild man of the forest. The creatures were part of Native American traditions and are said to be dwarf-like hominids with gray skin, large ears, fingers, and noses. I really want one bad. All manner of magical powers, abilities, and traits are associated with them, including behaviors such as disappearing and shape-shifting. Some have said that they possess poison arrows and are able to start fires. Look behind you, because according to lore, the little beings will shove people off Assinet Ledge in the Freetown State Forest if given the chance. And also, they will try and get men walking their dogs to come here. I would have picked that little sucker up, put him in my pocket, take him home.
Do you know, on all seriousness though, when I heard this, and did it not remind you of a grey alien?
Yeah.
A little bit. Because there are a lot, not UFOs. There are a lot of reports of there's a lot of reports of everything in the triangle, but there are a lot of reports of UFOs.
Yes, which will be another podcast. Yes,
will be another podcast.
Yeah,
but
right.
I just thought grey alien.
Right, that makes sense.
Grey skin, little maybe
it was belly, big ears.
He was saying that's what he heard. That was his interpretation of what he was saying. Come here.
Yeah.
He could have been saying, I don't know, phone home or something. I don't know.
Phone home. What would have happened if he had come here? That's what I want to know. What is wrong with you people? He should have let his dog go.
Yeah.
Go see what he wants. Yeah, what if he could have been abducted? Who knows? Maybe he just wanted to be loved. I don't know, but it's strange that, I don't know. This guy could have been 12 sheets to the wind as far as I know. But it is strange that all the Native American lore in that area does talk about these things. And if you heard our first podcast, there is a rock there that has writing on it that has been described as Phoenician, as in from Egypt. Also been described as Norwegian, like from the Vikings, which is very similar to the writings in Egypt, which is also strange. So, and they don't know who carved this, but it is the writing of these places. So, it could be a little UFO action. And maybe I feel like the Native Americans had a lot of superstitions and whatnot, but they had no reason to what would be considered a lie to describe these things, right? And they all described them the same way. So I think when you have a lot of generations describing something the exact same way, you got to kind of lend some credence to that.
Yeah. Definitely.
And, man, I want a tiny little wood elf to come live with me. I don't think I would have been afraid of that. Would I have been afraid of that? Probably not smart enough to be afraid of it. I'd been like, oh, you cute little guy.
But if you lived in the Bridgewater Triangle and you were not a skeptic and you did believe in a lot of the stuff, would you be taking your dog for a walk in the middle of the night?
Well, it was first off that was a very weird thing to me because he didn't live in a neighborhood, right? He lived
Middle of
was
nowhere.
Yeah, so why would you take your dog? Why? And when I grew up out in the country, we didn't take our dogs for a walk. We opened the door and said, "Go potty," and they went
Yeah,
out
but
and
maybe I'm getting this wrong. Did he not say he just got home from work and it was really late,
yeah, yeah.
like early hours, and
So he took the
and
dog
he,
for a walk. I think that's unusual to start off with when you live out in the country.
oh yeah, but he could have just let the dog go out on the front of
Yeah,
his house
that's what we
and gone
always
to
did.
bed, or
Yeah,
went gone and done whatever he wanted to do.
yeah. The fact that he was walking him down this wooded trail thing. First off, you're not going to get me in the woods in the middle of the night for
No,
nothing. There isn't enough money. Then, yeah, I don't know. His story was really weird. This guy just felt all kinds of, you know, in my personal opinion, felt all kinds of. I just didn't. How do I not get sued for this?
I know what you mean. Are you talking about a certain colour?
No, I just think that he just felt what? What?
I just think he was up to no good himself, maybe.
I just think that he just felt untrustworthy.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to describe him.
I just didn't put much. I didn't put much weight in his story at all. I just didn't feel like. I just kind of. It felt like there was an opportunity to be on in a documentary, and so maybe somebody, add kind of added a little something to a story.
Yeah, definitely.
What did you mean about color?
I'll tell you after. I'll get in trouble if I say it on live on a podcast.
Okay. Okay. I must be naive. But yeah, I just kind of felt like there was maybe taking a little advantage of getting a 15 minutes thing going on.
Yeah.
Just didn't. When he would remember it like, people like look a certain way when they remember, they look down or whatever when they're remembering things, and he just kind of didn't do that. So I don't know.
I think it was definitely his 15 minutes of, his 15 minutes of fame. But to be honest with you, I do believe that there is paranormal activity that goes on within this area. But as far as the cryptid side of it, I think maybe people are letting their imaginations run away with them a little bit. I do believe in cryptids. We've done lots of podcasts on cryptids.
Uh-huh.
I do believe in cryptids, but these, other than the UFO one and the little grey little men that you want to take home, I think maybe they're true. And the Bigfoot ones maybe, but the other stuff, I think you need to take it with a pinch of salt, to be honest.
And maybe he did see this little thing. He might have, but it might. And like we said, that it is in a lot of the Native American lore of the area. But maybe I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if he actually saw one or not, or maybe he took it from the lore of the area, or I don't know. Maybe this guy is. I don't know. I guess that's part of the problem with reporting stuff like that, is that then you have people like judging whether you're being truthful or not, or you're drunk.
Maybe he had an experience. Maybe there was an animal that he heard something in the bushes or something, and he got scared by this noise. His dog reacted, because obviously a dog would react in the middle of the night when it's dark.
Yes, yeah.
And he got home, and he thought, well, it must have been that. It must have been one of these, your mind is a funny thing sometimes, and when it hasn't got the information that it needs, it will fill in the blanks.
Right.
So maybe he didn't necessarily see anything; he just experienced it, and he sometimes you can walk down a lane or a track a million times, but then that one time something can happen, and the hairs on the back of your neck can stand up. Maybe, I like when I used to go walking. I used to go early in the morning when it was still dark, and I used to walk there all the time. And sometimes, I mean, we've told you, I've said it to you lots of times. I always used to think, I feel like I'm being watched, or
right.
It's just strange, just really, really strange.
Right. Well, I'm going to talk about something else that people see. If you're ready to move on, or if you want to talk about it still. I'm going to talk about the snakes. Actually, I think I'm going to start up. Let's see. I think I'm going to talk about the Dover demon that people claim that they see, which is kind of like the little 4-foot tall creature, little tiny creature that we were just talking about, because this one is supposedly 4 feet tall and bright orange.
Okay.
He was first spotted in April of 1977 by 4 people. First at a stone wall along Farm Street, and then 2 other times in the next 25 hours. It's funny that they don't just say 24 hours. It's 25. A man named Bill Bartlett reported seeing this creature bathed in high beam lights of his Volkswagen. He said that the creature grabbed a rock with his long fingers, and what he looks like, if you guys want to go look up the Dover demon, is he totally looks like an alien. He 100% has that big head with the big eyes and a gray body, but he said he was bright orange, so I don't know why they're showing him as gray. Anyway, that the creature picked up a rock with his long fingers. He slowly turned his head toward the car and stared into the light. That's when he realized that it wasn't a dog or a cat. He said the entity possessed a large head shaped like a watermelon.
Yeah.
In an interview, Bartlett said that in the center of the head glowed 2 large, round, glassy, lidless eyes shining brightly like 2 orange marbles in the headlights. There was no discernible nose or mouth or ears. Now, that other creature, they said, had large ears, large nose, and large mouth?
Yeah.
The head seemed to be supported by a thin neck. Are we not describing an alien right now?
It sounds like a grey alien, but one of the bigger grey aliens.
Yeah. The creature's body, according to Bartlett, was thin with long spindly arms and legs and large hands and feet. The shape reminded him of a baby's body, but with long arms and legs. So,
yeah, it sounds like a grey alien.
There's a movie from the 1980s. Oh, and it's got like River Phoenix in it or something.
River Phoenix.
Yeah, and they make a rocket and they go into space. Him and his friends. It's totally an 80s movie, and they meet these aliens. And that's exactly what they look like, babies' bodies with big arms and legs. Anyway, there's a whole spiel that they say that they're children, actually. There's a whole spiel that they say that my brother and I used to quote endlessly. Anyway, sorry about going off on that tangent. Its skin was hairless and appeared to be rough in texture, like that of a shark. How are you seeing this in the spotlight and the headlights?
You wouldn't.
I
I don't know.
I wouldn't
How
even.
close was it?
I don't know, but he saw the creature in the high beams of his Volkswagen. I mean, I've actually seen sharks, like up close and personal in Hawaii, and I wouldn't even say their skin looked scratchy.
No, it looks smooth, the skin, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's the part that fools you because you rub the wrong way and ouch.
Yeah, because it's like little teeth in it.
Yeah.
When you rub against it, it's like a saw.
Yeah.
Loads of little saws.
Yeah, that's weird. Anyway, I don't think you're going to see the texture of skin from very far away. Then it vanished into. I like this part. This is my favorite part. Then it vanished into history. It didn't just go behind a tree. It just went into history. Bartlett later made a drawing of this creature atop of a stone wall, and a man named John Baxter, who was an eyewitness to the second sighting, he drew a picture of the demon leaning against a tree. Just hanging out, smoking a cigarette. Hey guys, what's up? That sounds, like I said, if you look up the Dover Demon, that's totally an alien creature right there.
Yeah. I think it could have something to do with the other ones as well.
You do?
They don't necessarily, they don't, maybe they're two different types of alien on one UFO. Doesn't necessarily have to be all the same. It's like the film, Steven Spielberg film, the Close Encounters of the Third Kind at the end.
Right.
You have the tall, spindly aliens that come out, but you also have the little tiny aliens who bring the people out.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, because we're all different. Humans, you can't say humans look one certain way.
No.
So why would we think that aliens all look one certain way? Because we're humans, we think we know everything.
Yeah.
And we're super special. Okay, so I'll go on to the next one. Oh, I see. Okay. Okay, so I'm going on the next one. Sorry, you guys, I'm thinking out loud. Okay, let's go to another monster, shall we? So, of course, there's Bigfoot, and there have been sightings in a number of rural parts of the country, and of course, because it's, there's no Bigfoot hanging out in the city. There's never a Bigfoot hanging out in the city. I mean, you would think that after all these years, they would know that's where the trash goes.
Do you know, we were talking earlier about the guy that came out to see taking his dog for a walk.
Yeah.
When I said about a colour.
Right.
The colour I was going to mention was lavender. And people will understand what I mean when I say lavender. I think that is enough said. I wasn't trying to say anything else.
Oh, you think the guy who was told the story?
Yeah, and maybe, it was an encounter. Maybe he was expecting.
Oh, you think that's why he went out? You think that's maybe why he went out for a walk?
At such a late hour, yeah, or early hour.
Oh, oh,
I just,
interesting.
I just wanted to clear that up. Obviously, you have
Okay,
to be.
right. Yeah, because he was a white guy. That's why I didn't understand. Because I was like, I don't understand. Are you
Right,
gonna say
okay.
so? Are we talking about white people be crazy? Because
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
I think you can say that. Okay, okay. I hadn't thought about that. Interesting. Maybe that's just a story that he told his wife.
Exactly.
That's why he had to walk the dog, honey,
Excuse me.
so to speak. Interesting. Well, maybe.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's fine if that's, but
Well, of course. Although, if you are married, there is something wrong with that
okay, but
because there's a cheating thing on the side. But whatever. You do you.
can we move on now?
And
Because my foot is really, really dirty in my mouth.
okay. Okay. So, of course, there's been a lot of sightings of Bigfoot in the Hockomock Swamp and other swampy areas of Massachusetts and the mountains of Vermont and blah, 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 blah. The state park is 16,500 acres of some of the wildest, most natural land in the state. It seems like a natural habitat for a band of Bigfoot. And actual sightings of Bigfoot have been recorded there for 100 years.
Gigantoviticus, that is what they are called. That is
Gig-
exactly the name.
Gigantoviticus.
Yeah, giant bipedal apes.
Ah, okay.
And they're not vegetarian as well, they eat meat.
Oh, oh.
Because I think
Right,
most
because haven't
apes,
they found like jawbones and stuff, like in Oregon?
yeah, yeah, the jawbone, you can take the jawbone and a man can put his head in the jaw.
Oh
Like
my
his
gosh.
you can put your jaw in the jawbone, if you know what I mean. If that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yes.
And it's like head must be sort of like twice the size of a human head.
Wow. That's. I don't want one of those.
Because they've said, well, why wouldn't we have found um, remains?
Right.
Obviously, and this Jeff something he's called has said, well, no, because within the forests and the national parks, body would break down so quickly because of all the scavengers and insects and things like that, that and it wouldn't, and the bones would get scattered, and it wouldn't, over a couple of years, it would be gone. Well, over a few months, it would be pretty much gone. But if
The
people are out
bones
going,
too.
well, you've got to think about animals carrying them off, and dogs and wild dogs and
Yeah.
wolves and bears and things like that. Just getting the undergrowth growing over them, and it would just break down to nothing. They've done experiments where they put pigs out there
Hmm.
because a pig is supposedly very close to a human body,
Right.
and they filmed it breaking down, and it breaks down so quickly.
Pigs are
It's
so close to human bodies that
yeah,
I had the option of using a pig part on my when I had surgery in November. I turned it down, but yeah, we can use
yeah.
pig parts.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was one of my options. Pig
Oh,
parts, cadaver parts.
oh,
Yeah, there was a whole registry.
just got a real bad shiver then down my spine when you said that.
Yeah, it's,
I wouldn't
yeah.
like I wouldn't like cadaver parts. That would, I mean, I'd rather have the pig part than the cadaver. Well,
My son said to me, "But aren't you dead inside anyway?" So that was nice. Kids.
I don't think you're dead inside.
There's a spark. There's a spark in there somewhere. Anyway, yeah, I didn't use the pig part. Whatever. Anyway, point of the story is they also see sea serpents. 17th century Massachusetts colonists wrote about the sea serpents they saw from their ship and from shore. There were reports along the coast from northern Maine to Massachusetts and southern New England where there was something called Cassie, the Casco Bay sea serpent, around Portland, or the you're gonna know how to say this, not me. Gloucestershire, yes, sea serpent. Sightings of a giant serpentine creature have emerged regularly over the centuries, clear into present day. Perhaps the best known sighting occurred off Cape Ann and whatever. Thank you. Gloucester. Okay. In 1817 through 1819, in August of 1817, accounts were so numerous that General David Humphreys, a former member of George Washington's staff, gathered the sightings and published them in the Linnean Society of England's report of 1817. He noted that the head visible above the water surface was described as being much like the head of a turtle, but as broad as a horse's, with foot-long horns on top. The body was said to be 80 to 100 feet in length, like a row of casks, or like a string of buoys on a net. Over a period of 200 years, over a period of 2 years, hundreds claim to have seen this serpent. Since then, others have reported seeing similar creatures, even as recently as this past August off Mount Desert Island in Maine.
Ooh.
No, thank you.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Now, okay, so I have to say, I'm so terrible about this. I'm the worst skeptic, even though I've seen stuff. I'm such a skeptic because I'm like, well, I'm gonna take out like half of those as hysteria. People who think they see it because they're scared. And then that still leaves, though, hundreds of people who think they saw it from ships and from land. What could that have been?
See, I'm a skeptic, like you, but I'm a skeptic, which would be, okay, I don't believe it. It's just people's imagination. But then if someone asked me to go swimming in there, I would say no. I'm not that much of a skeptic.
Just in case. You got to leave a little room.
Yeah, it's got wiggle room.
Yes, I totally agree. Like, if somebody, of course, as we all know, I've had a lot of experience with paranormal activity. But for some reason, when other people say, like, I'm watching a TV show and I see other people, I'm like, oh, please. But that doesn't mean I'm going to go spend the night in their house.
Yeah.
I'm not. So that's not going to happen. So, yeah, I'm like that too. Okay, so I'm going to move on to, we did the Thunderbird, which I don't want one of. Then there's the Beast of Truro. One of the most famous mystery cats in modern Massachusetts history is the Beast of Truro. I can't read. Forget me. In September of 1981, an unidentified predator began killing pets and livestock. First, domestic cats were attacked and killed and mutilated. One eyewitness later was quoted in the New York Times as saying that the killer had a long, rope-like, curved, J-shaped tail and weighed upwards of 80 pounds and had short ears.
You know what it is, don't you? Chupacabra.
A chupacabra. Why didn't I think of that?
That's where it's gone.
That's where it went. That's right. That's right. It left Puerto Rico and went up over to Cape Cod. Finally. Finally. Thank goodness. I hope he makes his way over here. So others said the predator looked like a cougar. Well, it sounds like that. A New Yorker visiting Truro in December of 1981 reported to town officials that he'd seen a mountain lion. All are names for the same kind of animal, of course. Mountain lions, cougars, I guess they're the same thing. But wildlife officials have said that they believe mountain lions to be extinct in the East. In January of 1982, a mystery predator thought to possibly be the beast of Truro mauled penned pigs in a pen, in 2 separate incidents. And then the attacks stopped. That's because those pigs kicked its ass and ate it. Pigs are mean. Well, they weren't taking none of that shit.
You stop saying the S word.
Sorry. They weren't taking none of that cat stuff. Yeah. Cats. I mean, while that cat was killing one pig, the other pigs got together and they were like, what should we do about this? Well, obviously, we kill it and eat it.
Well, pigs will eat anything.
They will. They've been used to disappear human beings. So don't you think it's odd that these killings just stopped right after they happen to attack pigs?
I think it's weird that it's called the Truro beast, the beast from Truro or whatever.
And tell them why.
Because I live in Cornwall, and our only city in Cornwall is Truro, and it's spelled the same.
Yeah.
So
it's you.
Again, the Americans have stole our names.
We did, though. We did steal the names. I'm not gonna lie about that. But it was okay because we put new in front of it. New England, New York, New Jersey. So it was okay because if you put new in front of it, then it's fine. The Silver Lake monsters. In the 1940s and 1950s, there were reports of lake monsters said to be giant frogs, or called the Little Frog Man, in Plymouth County, Silver Lake. They were talked about around general stores and mentioned in passing in old newspaper articles. Years later, wildlife officials were on the lookout for an alligator. Wait, an alligator in Massachusetts? Is that possible? Years later, wildlife officials were on the lookout for an alligator that was rumored to have taken up residence in a same named but different Massachusetts pond. The Department of Conservation and Recreation officials searched Silver Lake, and there were no alligators. And they said that in July 28, 2011, there were 2 alligator sightings. But they didn't find any alligators. Can alligators live in cold water? No, they don't like it. They get they get
they're
still.
reptiles, aren't they? They can't. They need to
be warm.
They need the warm-blooded, aren't they? They need the reptiles, so they need the heat.
Yeah. Even in Louisiana, when it gets cold, quote unquote, which it doesn't get, like 60, they just become still.
Yeah, not that keen, are
Yeah, they're like, not today, can't be bothered. And then there is what's called the specter moose. From the 1890s to the 1930s, reports arose in areas around Bangor of a large moose of upwards of 2,500 pounds and 15 feet tall, with 10-foot antler spreads and dusky white in color. Hunters have gone in search of the so-called giant specter moose because of its coloring. They call it a ghost. With reports of sightings of one or more beasts around Lobster Lake, but no one has brought home the white trophy moose. In 1917, New York hunter J.G. Sullivan reported seeing a giant white bull moose near Mount Katahdin. Mount Katahdin. You guys go ahead and put down below what I'm butchering. An incident noted in the Evening Post of New Zealand. Sightings continued periodically today along the coast of Maine. And in an interview, journalist Rick Oliveira and his wife reported seeing a giant moose in southeastern Massachusetts in 1999. 15 feet. Well, first off, have you ever seen a moose?
Only on TV.
We were driving to, I think we were driving to my grandparents' condominium through Idaho and into Idaho, and there was a moose on the side of the road, and I had no idea. I kind of thought that moose were like a little bit bigger than deer. No, honey, moose are bigger than horses.
Yeah, they are big. Yeah.
It looked like something straight out of a science fiction novel. Now, obviously, there are people that are listening that have seen lots of moose, and they don't understand why that was shocking to me. But I had never seen a moose before, and I was stunned at the size of this animal. It's massive. It's beautiful. I mean, really. I guess you could eat moose meat, right? They would feed a family of 4 for 3 years probably.
There's a moose loose about this house.
Okay, so giant snakes. Several creatures that occur repeatedly in human folklore and legend have manifested themselves in the Bridgewater Triangle, including huge mystery snakes. Rob, didn't you used to have a huge snake?
No, I was waiting for this one. Yes, I did used to have a python.
And who did you sold him? Is that correct?
No, I didn't sell him.
You gave him away.
Gave him away to
yes. Who did gypsies. You give him away? Regular everyday gypsies?
Yeah.
Were they? Were they? Could you see them? Look at them eye to eye?
No, they were only little gypsies.
They were little people gypsies who came to get your huge python after he bit you on a live podcast.
Yes, he did bite me, but he was blind.
What?
And he mistook my hand for something else. No, he didn't mistake my hand for something else. Yeah, first.
On a live podcast, Rob suddenly blurts out, "No, stop. I'm fighting Miss Snake." And Rob Snake bit him. And then a short time later, Rob gave him away to a band of little people gypsies. I can't even make this stuff up. That was one of my favorite podcasts ever. And when we do our 2,000 subscriber podcast, we have got to talk about that one. That was one of my favorite podcasts ever. That was when I barely knew you, Rob.
Yeah. Thanks.
And you were like, I'm fighting a snake. Everybody goes, you were like, no, stop it. And we were in the middle of talking, and I go, are you okay? And you were like, I'm fine, sorry, carry on. No, there was no carrying on after that. And we were like, oh, what just happened? Sorry, I was fighting a snake. Okay.
I don't know why where this accent that you put on comes from when you're telling this story. It's so bizarre.
Fighting Miss Snake. Fighting Miss Snake. It's Australian. Is that? I don't think that's. Anyway, it was so funny. Oh my God, I laughed till I cried. Anyway, so as one police officer told the Brockton newspaper reporters in 1970 about strange happenings in the area, nothing surprises us anymore. Last week, a motorist ran over an 8-foot boa constrictor. We still haven't learned where that one came from. In 1939, Civilian Conservation Corps workers completing a project on King Philip Street on the edge of the swamp reported in Depression area news items of seeing a huge snake as large, around, and black as a stovepipe. The snake coiled for a moment, raised its spade-like head, and disappeared into the swamp. Local legends claim that a huge snake like this one appears every 7 years.
Well, an 8-foot boa isn't that big. It's not,
right.
You know, that is not like overly huge, because Sly was 6, maybe 7 foot.
Are you kidding me? That's how big your snake was?
When he stretched out, yeah.
And you used to sit there, hand to God, Rob would sit there. He would just send me pictures of this snake wrapped around his neck.
Yeah, he used to sit. He used to. My little girls. He loved my little girls, and they were little girls then. They used to have him around their waist, and he used to wear him like a belt.
Okay, can I ask you just a question?
Yeah.
How does a boa constrictor kill its prey?
He constricts them.
By
constricting.
Wrapping itself around.
Yeah, no, but he wasn't that kind of snake.
Oh, he was exactly that kind of snake. He was a boa constrictor. I'm just saying, him biting you saved your life. And now these little people, gypsies, are at the mercy of the snake.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen pictures, I've seen videos on YouTube of in places, in some place that was, I don't know, not you know, obviously America, where they cut a woman out of a boa constrictor. She had been working in her garden, and then she went missing, and they found this huge boa constrictor close to where she'd been that was as round as she was. And they cut it out, and sure enough, they pulled her out of the snake.
Is she alive?
No, she'd been constricted. I can't. If I lived in a place where that was a possibility, hell, I live in a place where it's not a possibility, and I don't like to leave the house.
Sorry about that.
I would never leave the house. Anyway, so that is I think a pretty good comprehensive list of the cryptids that are in or have been seen in the area of the Bridgewater Triangle.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
I do, yeah.
So we didn't solve any mysteries here today, Rob, but we have talked about some interesting things. We've talked about clandestine relationships.
Yeah.
We've talked about gypsies.
Yeah.
And some weird stuff. I've talked about movies from the 80s.
Yeah.
So I think we've covered all the bases.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, in that case, Rob, I'm going to sign off for the night. And if you liked this video, that's pretty good. If you would like to click that thumbs up thing, I'd appreciate that. If you would like to be subscribed, and why wouldn't you with content like this? Then please go ahead and click that button and decide how often you want to be notified. All the time.
Yay.
Come here. And please share these videos with your friends and relatives and people you don't like. Just share it. That'd be great. And I guess that's about all we have to say, Rob. What do you think?
That sounds good to me.
All right. Well, I'm signing off. Exit light out. Good night,
Rob
Rob.
out. Bye-bye.
Bye.